It is a definite combined effort from production and business departments to make sure that we get all the data correctly. So we're going to, I'll log in so that we can step through, and then I can do some more talking and take some questions if there are any at the end. So I'm just using Jones because I know her password. Okay, so the first thing is you do your login, and everybody has one, and then go into the expenses tab. Will bring up this window. Make sure that you choose the correct month, the correct year, and then hit show. That will bring up the monthly expenses or the inventory that you're going to need for that month, the end of that month. This can be printed out prior to doing inventory as well. If you're on a Mac, you just Apple P, I don't know what the commands are for a PC, but you can print out a couple of copies of that if you need to, and use that for writing down your end of month. And we request that every end of month is being done by a billing person and a production person. So we have two sets of eyes and verification that the count is right. If it's not on your first go around, please collaborate and find out what the right number is. Okay, billing also needs to make sure that they're getting a signed packing slip and dated packing slip from the production people throughout the course of the month, to be able to verify at the end of the month that that's the right stuff, that it's the right dollar figure, and you're going to be saving those packing slips for 18 months per our auditor's needs. Paper. To explain paper, throughout the course of the month, you're going to get a paper manifest, and I have an example here that we can look at. I go down to the bottom, oh, it's already at the bottom, to show this is like the roll manifest. And you might have something that looks a little bit different. This one just happens to be from Resolute. But it's going to show you the type of paper and how many rolls were ordered. Can everybody see my mouse just to make sure?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So how many rolls you're seeing, and then what the kilograms are. Now, the conversion of kilograms to metric tons is pretty easy. It's base 10, so 1,000 kilograms equals 1 metric ton, so you just move the decimal place over 3. So in reality, this is 2.041 metric tons. And this one is 12 rolls at 1.787 metric tons, 52 rolls at 15.424. And the reason why we're recording the metric tons is that helps get our average roll weight. For lack of a better word, that's just the easiest way to explain it. So if you're receiving just the regular newsprint, I'll show you as an example. Let's say we received 52 rolls and the weight was 15.424. That's how you record it in Pressmetrics while you're receiving the stuff. And if you happen to have more than one paper load in the course of the month, you'd have to add them together. You notice that it says full here and half here. This represents a full roll of 11 inch, so it would be 22 inch. This represents a half roll, which would be 11 inch. So if you had fulls and dinks, you might have, I don't know, 16 dinks for 2.135 or whatever. So that's how you record them throughout the month. At the period end, when you do your roll count, whatever the physical inventory is, let's just say it's 100 rolls, you write that in there. It calculates out the period end in metric tons and the amount of rolls that were used for that month, and so on and so forth. So that's how we come up with our dollar figures in inventory. Of course, when we hit save, this will go down to 2 decimal points. But so that's basic. That's how we record and deal with our sorry, there it is. Deal with our paper inventory. Piece of housekeeping information that's important, guys, is you have to use numeric values in any of these fields here. No commas, no dollar signs, any of that. It'll cause a problem. No blanks. For example, if I just had a blank in here, you're going to see this would cause a problem. So please just recognize, always have some form of a numeric integer in there. Okay, so that's housekeeping. For inks, our lowest common denominator is what we have to use for recording inks. So pounds. If you have a big vat that you're filling your ink up, we're going to have to figure out a calculation if you don't already have one, on a measurement to pound ratio. Whether you're doing measurements in inches, whether you're doing in feet, whatever you're doing them in on a big container, we have to make sure that we understand how much is in pounds. Same goes through with your ink if you have any for kits or totes or barrels or whatever it is. If you were getting a barrel and it's 400 pounds in a barrel, you need to record received 400. Something I want to recognize or point out as well, at the end of the month, if you have 4.5 barrels left over, that would be 600. The business department is tracking the ink, the blanket, or excuse me, the ink, both types of inks, overhead, plates, and a few of these chemicals, but they don't track everything. I suggest that you track as much as you can in Pressmetrics, and if you want something added, a quick email to me and I can add it into your list. The reason being is that we've requested everybody do their ordering the first week of the month. And if you know what your consumables are and you know how often and how much you're going through them, it's a lot easier at inventory when you do a count and go, oh my goodness, I'm down to 6 of those or 24 of those or whatever that is, even if it's gloves, if it's cutting rubbers, if it's tucker blades, whatever it might be, then it alerts you to say, I got to order that at the beginning of this month so that it's received throughout the month. Throughout the month, I requested everybody enter it as they received it. So if you ordered hand soap, the production people should enter the hand soap in there, whatever the volume was, sign it and date it, and hand it off to billing. At the end of the month, billing needs to verify the unit cost of whatever it was, which means going into the SPS program to look for the correct value. Now, obviously, you only have to do it on the things that you've received. For example, Sierra Vista received some filters this time and some grease and so on and so forth. So it's just verifying that stuff. And then, of course, most importantly, paper. I'm sending out monthly now what Paige has reported the monthly cost is for that month. For an example, June is going to be $630. It's not changing yet. $635.16 per metric ton. So again, you're not going back to the average roll weight, you're putting in what the actual per metric ton cost is going to be, and that's calculated later on. Salaries and wages, the overhead is a calculation to find out what the cost per hour is, and this is supposed to be a value of the press crew and the production manager, whoever's in that department, their salaries. If I'm not mistaken, it has to be done as an accrual figure from your SPS. So that can be put into, is that the right word, Is that the right word, Patty, accrual?
Yeah, you want to include your accruals.
Accrual,
so
okay.
You have to wait to the end of the month, and Debbie's posted the accrual to go onto the P&L and drill down and get those numbers. Okay,
so you put in the accrual number here for wherever the salaries are for the press crew and the production manager. And I'm just going to, for visual purposes, I'm going to put in 10,000, let's say, for Sierra Vista. So that number comes over to what the total value was for that month. For benefits, it's 25% of salaries, pretty easy calculation, hence why I use 10,000, $2,500. For administrative, it's 5% of salaries, again, 500. So that's the kind of information that you have. Uniform services, cleaning, utilities. In Sierra Vista, it's 50% of the utilities. Some locations, it might be a separate charge just because it's a different building. I think Ryan is in that and Joanne are in that situation. But whatever that is, that's what it should be. Service contracts for things like CTP should be in there. Okay, if you have any. So that's an example of the overhead.
Scott.
Yes, sir.
So back to the salaries, like I always put, if it's $10,000, I always put that in where the unit cost was, and I received one. So I mean, I guess I've been doing it wrong.
I'm trying to standardize everybody. The value is still the same. For example, there's 2,100 here. If I put a 1 in there, it's going to still show the same value. So it's the reason why I would rather see it with a 1 here is because when I carry it forward, it shows me that there has been, am I seeing, Okay. It shows me that there has been activity, that the new month has been ran, that everything is correct. So that's why I've been putting it here. This number here carries forward. So if you had 10,000 in here and it never changed, I wouldn't notice that it wouldn't carry forward. That's the only reason why I started changing it. But in all actuality, Denny, nothing wrong with that. It still worked.
I mean, I'll do it your way. I just wasn't sure on
Nope, I appreciate the question. Okay. Anybody else?
Scott, if this is a good time, I was just going to offer a couple thoughts. This
Yes.
is Ron.
Please, Ron.
Okay, everyone, I'm Ron Lee. I'm down here in Sierra Vista. I just wanted to take a few minutes because I never get to talk to all of you guys at the same time. But this is a very important area. After payroll, our press supplies are our second largest expense. So it's an area that's heavily looked at. We frequently have to discuss with our publisher many of the variances we're seeing in the expenses that are showing on their financial at the end of the month. So we're excited that with Press Metrics, we'll be able to see what we're doing well in operations and what we still could improve upon. Whereas now we currently do not have anything with this kind of drill down capability. So I'm glad that you're all taking this training and just want to emphasize its importance. In addition to just internal management purposes, we also have outside auditors that also review our operations every year. Many of you have had them even visit on site because they always visit a few select sites each and every year. And this being one of our largest expenses, it's very important that we do this correctly because from their viewpoint, if there are a number of errors, it comes back to basically a breakdown in internal controls. So if we can't take care of, something this, large, then they wonder if there are, further areas that they need to look at that are on a smaller scale. So we're really hoping that with the next couple of months as we roll this out, that we'll get off on a good start and we'll be able to get rid of any problems that we've had in the past so that we can have good information, not only for the financials and for the auditors, but it'll also help us in future budgeting and other forecasts. Let's see. One of the common areas that we've experienced in the past with problems is not having updated pricing. It's the corporate policy that we use the last price paid for our price used on the press metrics. So that's where all the business office folks, about the second workday of the month, we ask that you go into SBS, upload what we call a preliminary financial, drill down into the actual invoice for the last item paid, and if there was nothing purchased for that month, then you could rely on the prior month and the price will not have changed. But if there was something new that was acquired, then you would update that current price paid, and you would update that in Press Metrics.
Ron, this is Barb.
Hey, Barb.
We do that automatically then. It does, this Press Metrics report doesn't do it for us, right?
That's correct. Yeah, so what will happen is Scott wants the production folks to put in probably the last price paid that they know of when they acquire something. But at the end of the month, we're asking the business office personnel to go in on the second workday of the beginning of the month to go in and to verify all the prices on the last invoice and to insert them into the Press Metrics, override, in other words, the price per unit. And then that will get us to the last price paid, which is what our policy is and which will satisfy our auditors. Does that answer your question, Barb?
Okay,
Okay. That's all I had to offer. Any questions on any of that stuff, folks?